So to start implementing the like functionality of our cards, we will use some icons. I'm going to use specifically hero icons and the heart icon for our like button. We would actually copy the SVG from here. Then we go back to our views, components, we create a new component. We would call this component icons, as I like to make one component to actually house all the icons. And maybe if you would like another approach, you can do it in the other way. For example, if you want to use Font Awesome, and I will probably post a tutorial of using Font Awesome icons, starting with the icon keyword, and we say icon heart. This will help us identify any icons in the project. By just typing icon, the autocomplete or the LSP would actually suggest all the icons that you have inside your components. So now we're going to paste the icon we got from hero icons. So instead of just pasting the icon just like that, we will give it a class. All right, that will be a string, and this argument would be implemented right here. So class would be right here, and maybe we will also implement X class, which is the actual binded class by Alpine.js. So we need to use it just like that. So class or binded class, X-bind class, you can call it as well, would be X class. This will help us style the actual component or the actual SVG, and also help us get some dynamic styles going on. Okay, we're saving and we go back to our card component, which would be in our homepage. Now we can also, of course, create a card kind of component for this one, but I'm going to leave it in the homepage. You can do that if you want your code to be more component based. Inside our card, we would do some adjustment. We will actually add 3 functionalities and some maybe 2 variables. The first variable would be like variable, which will hold the object of the like of this exact person, meaning every authenticated person could actually like any card in the homepage, or give a like or toggle the like. And the like would be an object, as if we remember from our previous videos when we set our database, we have created a likes collection. Each like would have a user and card. So each like record would have a user and card. So this like object right here would be the actual JS object of the like record from our database, and it will be initially set to null. Then we will have another variable called like count. This will hold the actual number of likes for each card. Remember, we're actually adjusting the card component that is used in our homepage. Okay. So after the like count, we would have 3 functions. One function, we would call it, for example, fetch like. And this function only going to fetch the like object for this currently authenticated user. The other one would be the async fetch likes count. And the fetch likes count function would actually fetch the exact likes count for this card. The final method that we would need is the toggle like, and this simply just toggles off and on the like for this card based on the currently authenticated user. And to start actually implementing our functions, we will go ahead and start by the fetch like. So first we will check if the user is authenticated, and to do that we will access the isValid object from PocketBase. So PocketBase.authStore.isValid. And if the user is not valid or the auth store is not valid, we don't have an authenticated user, what we will do is return. So we'll simply end the function right here. But if the user is authenticated, then we can get the user ID, for example, from the pp.authstore.model.id. After we got the user ID, we can now use it to fetch the like object of that user. And to do that, we will go ahead and access our try block. And to actually implement or get our like record, we will create a constant called record. We will make it equal to this expression here. So we will actually fetch the record from the collection of likes. We will use the function get first list item, meaning that we will get the first list item that will match a certain query, and this query would actually be just like that. So we would implement it with the backticks to include JS variables inside the string. So the user would be equal to a single quoted variable, which is the user ID variable, right? So the user value or field of this like that we're trying to get would be the same authenticated user. So to check if the user has like on this specific card. And the other field that we're going to filter with is the card field, the current card ID that we're actually inside. So here we would also add some single quoted variable, just like that. And here we would actually access the item.id. Because remember, we were looping through the cards and actually defining item as defined here, item.title. And if we go back to our component, we can see that we're actually looping for item in items, and items are the card coming from the database. So we would say item.id to get the card ID of the current card that we're actually accessing. Now we're going to catch any errors using this method, right? And then we would return null if any error is actually caught. So we can simply just use the this.like right here. So we can simply just update it, because if any error happens, we will actually make the like as null, which will be fine. We can also catch any errors coming from this, although maybe no errors will be available since we're actually using this catch right here. And we can say that maybe a message with this error that would be, for example, error fetching a like or whatever. This is simply the fetch like functionality, and we would fetch like whenever we initialize a card. So right after our x data attribute, we would add another attribute called x in it, and this would fire an expression whenever this component is initialized, and we will fire the fetch like to actually fetch the like right away after the component is appeared, to see if the user has liked the card or not. The second method that we're going to implement is the fetch likes count. And this is important because we want to show the likes count whenever the user is hovering the card. Okay, so to fetch the likes count, what we would do, we would actually also check the authentication of our current user by actually accessing the auth store and accessing the variable is valid. And if it's not valid, we would return immediately and not run any expressions. Then we would create the same thing. So we would create the user ID, which we will get from our auth store model. Then we will write our fetch query inside our try block. We will update the count, the likes count, using this expression. So we say this.likes count, meaning the variable that we defined inside the x data, the likes count that is now 0, make it equal to the following expression. So we will await pp.collection of likes, of course. We would get actually a list, but we will get one item of that list. So we will use the method getList, but we don't want to get an actual list of likes. We're only interested in the number of likes. And to do that, we only will get one like that will match this expression. The filter would be card equal to the string of the actual card that we're using. So for example, the item.id, the current card. So we would get all the likes that has the field card equals to the same card ID that we have right here. The fields that we want to access are ID. So we'll only access the field of ID. Then what we would do, we would use the then keyword in JS to actually take the response, and from that response get the count. So we say response.total items. This is a variable defined by the actual Bucket Base API. If we go to the API review and maybe we get to list and search, we can see that if you use the method getList, we have the response with total items that will show the total number of items that match a certain query, which is what we want in our fetch likes count. After that, we would implement a simple catch error logging as we did here. And that's it. This way we will update the likes count. And to toggle the likes count updates, we would actually do this on hover. So whenever we actually make the variables to be true, we could go ahead and add another call here, for example, to call the fetch likes count. This will make the variables to be true, so showing the actual content, and will update or fetch our likes count. And to show the counts, we would create a component for the count with our icons that we got from Hero Icons. Right after this div, we will actually add the class relative, and we would have another div right here. This div would house the like count, so maybe a span that will house the actual likes count, which comes from the variable likes count. So we'd say xtext equals likes count. And we will use our heart icon that we got from Hero Icons. To do that, we will access components, So we will actually use the components and we'll use the icon heart from the components. Of course, the icon hearts would need some class, so we would give it the size class, size to be maybe 4 or maybe, yeah, would be 4. And the next argument would be the X class or the binded class by Alpine.js, which will be a JS expression. So we'll check first if the like object is set, and if it is, we will use the fill red 500. So we will use the fill class to actually fill the icon with a red color. Else we would actually only fill it with white color, or maybe won't use any class right here. So this is our icon of heart and the likes count. We will make sure to actually make them absolute. So the position of them would be absolute on the top 2 and the end 2 of the card. Okay. Now to see the changes, we will actually save and refresh our page. If we go to the home page, we see that each card would have a number of likes and a heart icon that will be fetching the actual counts of each like. Maybe we need to make the icon a little bit bigger, and we will actually only show the likes count of the component only when the user is hovering the card. We will have xShow set to verbose, which is the variable that we actually defined here to check if the user is hovering the card or not. Now, after we save, refresh the page, we shouldn't see any count of likes, only when we hover the actual card. And this is actually working. Now, lastly, we would actually implement the toggle like functionality right here. So the toggle like would be toggling the like on each card. And to do that, we will also check for the authentication and also get the user ID from the auth store. So same first 2 lines for each function. Then we would implement our logic right here. So the logic of the toggle like would be the following. First, we will check if we have the actual like object. So if we fetched the like record using the fetch like method, if we actually did that, then we will maybe delete that if the toggle function is fired. Add an if statement, say if there is a like, so if there is a like on this page, if this dot like is available, we will await using this function call. So we would use the collection or pp own collection of likes, and we would delete the actual like, meaning we would use the delete functionality to delete this like, which would be this .like.id. After successful delete, set the variable or the object of like to be null again, and maybe minus the count of likes because we removed 1 like, so we want to update the UI right away. To do that, we will go ahead and say likes count double minus, which means we will decrement the likes count because we removed a like. Now, if the like isn't set, meaning this toggle is fired to actually add the like, we would actually create the record of like with this expression. So first of all, we would actually use this dot like to assign it to the new record coming from pp.collection.create. So collection of the likes, of course, dot create, and we will create the new like object. The new like object would take an object of variables that would take a user, that would be the user ID, and a card that would be the ID of the card, so item.id. Then we would update the likes count. So this dot likes count would be plus plus, or would be incremented. After that, we would catch any errors and log them. This is simply the toggling of like. Okay. Now, to be able to toggle the actual like using the function toggle like, we would go back to our icon heart and add another variable here called attributes, attrs, right, like that. And this would be temple.attributes. Then we would implement the attributes right here using this expression. So attrs ... just like that. This would allow us to actually insert whatever attributes that we need instead of using X class like this. So we would only need the class, or maybe even remove the class from here. So it makes actually the content of the code clearer by only using attributes. And if we go back to our homepage, now instead of defining 2 classes, what we need to do is to actually use the temple.attributes. And here implement our attributes. First attribute would be the class attribute, for example, size of 6. The second would be the binded class. So this expression, the binded class from Alpine.js, this would actually make the like change color. So whatever the like object is there, we would use the class of fill to fill the card or to fill the like button with color, and whatever the like object is not there, we will simply do nothing. Now after that, we would also implement the click listener using the @click attribute. And this is why I like this setup of code stack, that you can use literally features from temple HTML templating, binding it with Alpine.js and with Tailwind CSS. You can have this amazing component like that you can do a lot of stuff in the same component. So the @click listener would actually fire the toggle like. So now if we hit save and we refresh our page, we can see that we have this liked. For example, if we like this card right here, the actual likes count is updated and the UI of the like is updated as well. We can also only show the like icon whenever the user is hovering, and if it's liked, we show it right away. There's a problem because when we click the like button or the like icon again, it won't remove the class or it won't remove the actual like. And this is because some API rules in the database. So as you can see, we have some errors here because we clicked this a few times and it didn't work. We go back to our admin UI into the likes collection and we edit the API rules. Here we're setting the delete rule to only allow us if the request has user. So the same change that we did with the actual dashboard card creation or deleting. So we would set this to only work if the request.auth.id equal the user variable of this like. Okay, we save this. Now if we go back to our Go cards, remove the like and add the like just like that. So we can toggle the like smoothly. Okay, and maybe I would just for a final touch remove the actual like button if the user is not hovering the card, and only if the user has already liked the card, so it would show up this like. So to do that, what we would do, we would add another attribute called xShow, and we will run this expression to only show the card or this icon heart only if either verbose is there. So if verbose, we would show the card, or if like is there. So either verbose or like is, if it's true, then we will show the card. So to do that, we hit save and refresh the page. We should only see the icon on the cards that we have liked. And if we hover this card, for example, we will see the like button. A quick update to the homepage. We won't actually need the authentication when we fetch the likes count because we want to see the likes even when we are not authenticated. So we would actually remove this authentication check right here and maybe only get the user ID, but we don't actually need the user ID right here. So this is actually something that we don't need. We can save this. When we go back to our application, even when we're not signed in, we can see the likes count. If we refresh the page, we can see the likes count of each card. As you can see here, for example, this card has 1 like, this one has 2, and so on and so forth. After you want to create your first card, it won't show up immediately in the UI. So the UI wouldn't actually update. As you can see, I hit the submit button, nothing happened. The UI didn't update with the new card, but the card is created. So if you refresh the page, the card is there. And to fix this, we will go back to our dashboard page and only update this .page. So instead of updating it right here inside the try block, we would only update it if the reset is not set. So if it's not reset, we will only update it. We will also remove the update from here, and only after the fetch we will update the page number if the reset is set. So here we say if reset, then we'll update this page variable. Now if we save and refresh our page, we can see now if we create the component or the first card, immediately it appears here, and we can then maybe edit this component just like that. A quick update also to the home page. We will only show the sign in button if the user isn't already signed in. So here we can add a xShow attribute and we'll make this equal. So if there is a pp.auth store is valid, so if the authentication is valid, we won't show this. So this would be opposite of the authentication. If the authentication is invalid, this would show. If it's valid, this wouldn't be shown. So we save, we refresh our page, and we can see now there's no sign in button because we're already signed in. If we want to see the sign in button, we would log out. Then if we go back to the home screen, we can see the sign in right here.